Hey there, tech fans. Rick here again with a quick review of the Meta Quest 2 virtual reality headset. In today's video, I'd like to tell you about 4 of my favorite puzzle and strategy games that you can play with this headset. But before I do, I'd like to talk a little bit about the system itself because a lot of people look at this and think of it as nothing more than a gaming console. And they're right, to a certain extent, it's a phenomenal gaming system that allows you to have hours of fun playing all sorts of different games for every age group. But what's different about it is that when you're playing a game on a normal console, it's a two-dimensional game. You're actually watching that game on a TV screen, which is 2 dimensions, so it's hard to get a real perspective into the screen. When you slide these goggles on, you're immediately transported into a virtual environment where you've got 3 dimensions you're looking at. So when those zombies are coming towards you, I mean, it can get really scary, but the beautiful part is you completely forget where you are. When you put the goggles on, you're immediately transported to that virtual environment and you feel like you're in the video game. So it really enhances all the games that you're playing today, but it's so much more than that because that virtual environment can be almost anything. It can be a situation where you're sitting next to a stream if you like to relax after a long day at work and maybe meditate a little bit. You can actually use it to travel. You can put these headsets on and all of a sudden you're in front of the pyramids in Egypt or you're at the Eiffel Tower in Paris. So you can actually explore the streets in Paris by walking with the headset and using the controller. So it gives you a way to travel virtually. You can use it to watch movies on a wide screen, just like you're at the theater, and you can watch those movies with other friends that are wearing VR headsets as well. So it's a communal experience, it's a video gaming system, it's really a virtual transporter to take you almost anywhere you want to go. But one of my favorite things to do with it, again, after I've had a long week of work and I want to relax a little bit, is I'll put the headset on and I'll play some games or I'll solve some puzzles. And that to me is just the best use case for it because I don't have to worry about zombies chasing me where my blood pressure's going up. I can relax, I can figure out a puzzle, I can either do it with somebody else if somebody else has got a headset, or I can find somebody on the internet to challenge, or if I've got other people that have a headset that are there with me, we can all put them on and get into the game virtually. So these 4 games I'm going to talk about are specifically puzzle type games or strategy games that'll really stress your brain. It'll really make you think, which is what I like to do as a nerd. So let me get started with the easiest one. Now, this is a game that everybody out there I'm sure knows about or has played in years gone by, and it's Tetris. And you might be thinking, well, how can Tetris be 3-dimensional? Well, what they've done is they've updated the Tetris game board where I can play against other players, either by myself or with other players. And I've got 3 dimensions to the board. I've got beautiful music and scenery behind it. So it's Tetris, but it's competitive. It's beautiful visually, and it's the same game you've come to know and love. So you can have a lot of fun getting into that Tetris environment and knocking those little bricks out so you can beat your opponent. So Tetris is one that's incredibly easy to learn. If you've never played it before, trust me, you'll have the hang of it in 30 seconds, but a lot of fun to play that game. So that's the first one I'd recommend. And the best thing about Tetris is that it really isn't for any specific age. Everybody can play that game. The next one I'd like to talk about is for a younger audience. It's Bobble. Now that's a name that should ring a bell if you've ever been in an arcade. That was a famous game for decades out there in the field. And it's sort of like Tetris, but it's not really like Tetris because you're trying to shoot bubbles to build out a particular form. And what's nice about this new version of it, which is called Bobble Vacation Odyssey, is it actually puts you in an environment where you've got 3 dimensions where you're shooting these bubbles in, and you've got an opponent next to you that's shooting bubbles as well. So it's sort of like the 2-dimensional game, but it's got a whole lot more depth and a whole lot more challenges. And there's a couple of different ways you can play that game, again, depending if you've got an opponent or you want to play against the computer. The next game that I like a lot is a strategy game. And this one will raise your blood pressure a little bit, and it's called Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. Now that should give you a lot of giggles just hearing that title, but essentially what you're doing is one person is sitting in front of a bomb, and there are other people that have access to the manual on how to defuse the bomb, but they can't see the bomb. And the person in front of the bomb can't see the manual. So what you've got is cooperative gameplay with a timer going. So if I'm sitting in front of the bomb and I have 3 people that have a manual, they're all shouting commands at me saying, is there a knob in the upper right? Yes, there is. Turn it to the left. Okay, push that button on the lower right. No, not yet, not yet. So there's communication going on, and I'm telling you, you're gonna have so much fun. I'm laughing even thinking about it because we were playing it the other day, and it's stressful, but it's fun when you're playing it. So that's a great game. And what's nice about it is there's so many different levels and so many different configurations. And what I like to do is I'll be the guy trying to defuse the bomb, and I have 2 friends that are giving me instructions. And if we're successful or if it blows up, then we switch and somebody else does the bomb and I'm giving instructions. So it's a whole lot of fun to play that game. That's one of my favorites. Now, the last one is if you're into board games, it's a game called Tsuro. It's Tsuro, and it's a board game where you have a three-dimensional view of a board, and essentially what you're doing is you're playing against an opponent or group of opponents, and you're laying tiles down that change the path of your pieces. So the first tile may only have a path to the right, and then your opponent puts a tile down to change the direction again. You put another tile down to change the direction again. So it's competitive. It's not really cooperative. It's more competitive, and it's really one-on-one or one on a group, but it's a whole lot of fun. And it's one of those games where the first time you play it, it seems simple, but the more you play it, you develop strategies and you understand a little bit more about how to fake somebody out, maybe save the good tiles for the end or save the good tiles for a sneak attack, but it's a whole lot of fun. And that one you can play against the computer, you can play it against a friend to join the game with you, or you can play it against somebody on the internet that you've never met before. And again, a lot of these games you can do the same. So those 4 puzzle games are just phenomenal, and they're the ones we keep going back to as a family again and again. Anytime we've got a rainy day and we're looking for something to do, we pop on the headset, we get into the virtual environment, and we just have a lot of fun with those puzzle games. So hopefully you found this review helpful. I've enjoyed talking about the product. I use this thing a couple of times a week for either meditation, for travel, for watching a movie, or for playing puzzle and strategy games, and I think you're going to like it an awful lot as well. So thanks again for watching, and until next time, as always, stay nerdy.